say Zelina Vega showed glimpses of what she is capable of in the ring, and I think she is going to end up surprising a lot of people who are not familiar with her if WWE lets her. Because she's super talented, she's a high flyer, and if all is right in the world, with 2 women's belts, she should definitely have one of the women's titles one day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So this one was good. I gave it a B-.
She's definitely like your AJ Lee caliber, and she played AJ Lee in that movie, so that's funny. Fighting for my family. But yeah, no, sometimes I'll watch her and Aleister Black's workout videos because they got their gym in their garage and they post them on YouTube or whatever.
Right.
They're badasses. Legit badasses. And I think there's a lot of hope for Zelina in WWE. Probably more outside of WWE, but
yeah, it depends on what WWE lets her do.
They're turning her man into Solid Snake for Halloween, so I don't know if you saw that, but he's got like this bandage over his eye because they haven't done that in wrestling enough this year. Nobody took his eye out either. He just came out with it.
Oh my gosh.
Wrapped around his head like Solid Snake from Metal Gear Solid. Fucking.
Yeah, we have had enough of that.
Yes. What we haven't had enough of is Bobby Lashley as your United States champion. And this was cemented at the Clash of Champions as he defeated Apollo Crews by submission. The Hurt Lock.
I didn't watch it.
Oh, I apparently did. Because I knew that somehow.
I didn't watch it. I had no need or want to watch it, and from everything I've read, wasn't much that I missed. So my son didn't want to watch it. I didn't want to watch it. That's all I got to say about that. So I guess that brings us to Raw Tag Team Championships.
Woo!
Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford defended their championships successfully as the Street Profits went over Andrade and Angel Garza.
For about the 34 millionth time.
Yeah.
This feud's really going nowhere.
We've seen these two fight so much that it just isn't anything new.
God, isn't it? It makes you happy you don't watch Raw or SmackDown, right? Because then you don't got to see it all the times it happens there.
Right. I've seen it enough just from the pay-per-views.
Vince is like, this is my tag team division now.
I will say, though, one good thing was they have really good chemistry at this point. They have great chemistry. Yeah. All 4 of them, they work well together and everything. But... And this
right about the time Andrade and Angel Garza get their shit together, they're going to split up.
Well, and this maybe could have been the best match that these 4 had together, but then the finish came, which we'll get into all of that later, but there was an abrupt finish that really robbed us of what I would assume was a better planned finish. But the worst part of that, not only did it shit the match, but I have a feeling it's going to be an excuse for WWE to keep this feud going on, which I don't want or need at all.
100 more years, Morty.
I gave it a C+ because, I mean, what we got wasn't bad, but...
Hey, I love some Street Profits. Don't get me wrong, I love Andrade and Angel Garza too, but they don't accomplish anything, so I don't see the point. And that's not their fault, that's WWE's fault.
And they really just... This feud should be over at this point. They've proven time and again that they can't beat the Street Profits, but like I said, with that funky finish, I'm pretty sure they still got a handful of matches left yet.
Taking it to Mania.
They will, too.
Oh, boy. And then we had the SmackDown Women's Championship match, seeing Asuka defeat Bayley by disqualification. Asuka had 2 matches?
Asuka had 2 matches.
Again, that's crazy.
Yep. Nikki Cross wasn't able to make it for reasons we'll get into later. And Bayley said, anybody come out here and I'll take anybody. I'm not scared of anybody. And she said, ref, announce me the winner. And right before the referee could raise her hand, Asuka came out. And, I love Asuka. I love Bayley. Them two have great matches together. But for me, it's like, if you're going to have a replacement for Cross, why couldn't you have done like a Lacey Evans, Sasha Banks, Alexa Bliss?
Yeah, why wouldn't it be Sasha Banks?
Right?
You know what your next pay-per-view is, right? Hell in a Cell.
And it could have been Sasha Banks, but I have a feeling because I think the ending went the way they wanted to with the interference from Sasha Banks that I can kind of see maybe that. I would have loved to see Zelina Vega come back. You know what I mean? And have her just
lose
like, hey,
two matches in a night.
Yeah, let's do it again. Let's do it again. I'm ready. She wouldn't even have to win, but just like, hey, I'm ready. Do it again. But whatever. It was cool to see Asuka look really good 2 times in one night again. I mean, if any woman on the roster can do it, she definitely can do it.
Charlotte Flair can do it.
She can. Not as well, but she can. But in the end, if it's just going to be a DQ, just let somebody else do it. Help build somebody else. Give another woman a pay-per-view payday for heck's sake. But Banks' return was kind of the most entertaining part. That post-match attack, really, I enjoyed it. I thought it was great, and you could tell that was supposed to be part of the cross match. But I give this one a C+ also. It should have been so much better. And it was only 3 minutes, 45 seconds.
Yeah.
So it just wasn't.
They gave the women a whole 10 minutes on the show.
Yeah. Exactly. How do you like that?
2
matches and they get 10 minutes.
Of course, then we have Fat Mac's favorite match.
Of course.
The ambulance match.
Wee-oo, wee-oo.
For the WWE Championship, seeing Drew McIntyre defeating Randy Orton with a little help from any legend Vince could call in that night.
Yeah. Can we say overbooked, Pasty? Because this was fucking over.
I didn't watch this one. I just skipped to the end to see who won. And I saw Shawn Michaels kicking Orton off the top of the ambulance. I'm like, oh, why is Shawn here? Is DX back?
It was not a good match.
It's just Vince saying he can't trust
so
McIntyre to carry the company, right? Because he's got to have a dozen legends.
So. I think so. That's. I even have that in my notes. I said all the interference makes Galloway appear like he needed help to win, and it hurt him. It hurt him. And both of these guys can have brutal matches, so I'm surprised they didn't kind of elevate this match more than what it could be. Ambulance matches are hard to do. I mentioned that last week. I don't know if I've ever seen an ambulance match I really enjoyed or was really entertained by, but they just made it worse than it needed to be. It was not good. It was not pretty, not fun.
Kicking the ambulance door off was kind of cool, but you know that's gimmicked, so they didn't actually accomplish that.
Right. I gave it a D+.
So who were the legends? It was Ric Flair, Christian, Big Show, Shawn Michaels, and that was it, or was there one more?
I can't think of anybody else, but
it was enough to play poker.
I forgot about Christian also.
Because I know on Raw, Randy Orton was dressed as a janitor with a baseball bat, and then he put on some like redneck ski goggles, but they called them night vision goggles.
Oh my
and he went into a room where
here.
all the legends were playing poker and shut the lights off and beat them all up, and then walked out.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
That's awful. Really?
Yeah, it is. Yep. That really happened.
It is. That's no good. Yeah, that was everybody. Christian, Big Show, Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair. See, they could give all them guys pay-per-view paydays, but they couldn't give another woman a pay-per-view payday. Get the fuck
right. And they probably only paid Asuka once.
Right. I don't have anything more to say about this, do you?
No, because I didn't watch it.
Okay, well then we're moving on to the Universal Championship match, the main event. Roman Reigns defending his championship against his cousin Jey Uso. And Roman Reigns won by Jimmy Uso throwing in the towel. Jimmy Uso wasn't in the match. He wasn't ringside. He wasn't a second. He wasn't a valet. He wasn't a manager.
He's not even cleared to be wrestling, so he shouldn't have been there.
Yeah,
COVID.
The ending's odd, but if you can forget about the ending, oh man, this match was designed to tell a story. And man, I love story matches, and I've never really gotten a good one from Reigns, but this one told a story through and through. You can show somebody this match who never heard of Roman Reigns, never heard of Jey Uso, doesn't watch wrestling, and they could tell you what the story is, and they would be invested in it.
Well, it's easy to tell you what the story is when Roman has a 6-page scripted promo he has to cut during the duration of the match. Which is my one complaint about the whole thing, is it's too much talking and not enough kicking ass. But it was good. I'll say it was all good. It was just too much talking.
I think it was the perfect amount of talking. He didn't really, all he was doing was basically every time he's like, tell me I'm the high chief. Tell me I get the spot at the head of the table. Like he's really pushing this like I am the Samoan. Which is building to what may or may not be a Rock match at Mania.
It'll be Samoa Joe.
Sure. But this is the most this wasn't like suffering succotash Reigns, and this wasn't like big dog my yard Reigns. Like I felt him. I believed it. He looked mad. He looked evil. He looked like he wanted to do it. This is the Reigns I've been begging for at least, and I think it helps sell him 100%.
I do give him that.
Cheated with the low blow. That was perfect. It establishes that the title means more to Reigns than even his family, and that he's willing to put his pride aside to win, which is something, he'd never do in the past. So, I don't know. I think this was better than anyone ever could have predicted.
Oh, yeah, yeah. It even boiled down to Paul Heyman wanted him to stop and just win the match.
Yep. But yeah, the ending was shitty, and I'll give it that. But I did say in my notes, I said, although I didn't care for how the match ended, it helped progress the story. So with that, I'm not knocking any points off of my score. Pasty, I gave this an A+. I think this was the first time, and maybe the only time ever, Roman Reigns is getting an A+ from old Fat Mac over here. But this match got an A+ from me. I loved it.
Yeah, I wouldn't go any lower than probably a solid A on this match. It did convey all the emotions I would expect wrestling, especially on like a WW and I'll say WWF caliber.
Right.
It felt real. It felt like a family vendetta. It felt like, all this childhood rivalry built up. And even though this has never been a story in WWE really until now, it works well. And it makes Roman into the heel he needs to be. He's even out of Heyman's control. Yeah.
As only Brock Lesnar has done in the past. And I do see where I can see where it was too much talking for some. I don't agree.
He did say the same things over and over again a lot.
He did. You're right. He could have, if he was The Rock, he could have said better stuff. I agree with you. But it did drive home the point, and so you could easily make this an A match.
And the best part was definitely when he picked up Jimmy's face and the camera was in the corner and they're looking directly at the camera and Reigns is like, that's my camera. This is my wrestling ring. This is my WWE. That was
100 the best, for sure.
Throwing in the towel was stupid, though, and WWE, for a company who doesn't care what their competition is doing, we've definitely called them out on stealing AEW spots quite a bit, especially in the last few weeks. So it's like, that bothers me a little bit, but that's the finish, and it's not the match. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And sometimes just a bad finish can really ruin a really good match, but I don't think it did because...
I wouldn't call it a bad finish, though, because it was starting to get uncomfortable.
Yeah, I still think it was a bad finish, but I think it progressed the storyline, so it at least had a purpose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know.
So are we going to see
like
Reigns
throwing in the towel
destroy
thing.
both of them at the next pay-per-view? In a 2-on-1?
I hope not. I hope not. But